Hey, book besties. Welcome to More Than a Book Club podcast. I'm your host, Leyna.
And I'm your other host, LJ.
And we have today joining us Miss Geneva Lee, who is a very big author of the Filthy Rich Fae series. I think this is really cool because I just started with the Filthy Rich Fae, the first book, and then going back and I'm like, now there's this whole other world I get to go explore with Filthy Rich Vampires. So I'm very excited.
I know. I messaged Leyna. I was like, I already went on Kindle and downloaded all of those. And I'm like, yay, since we have to wait for the next one.
I know, but you'll love vampires. Everybody loves Julian. So you'll love vampires. Yeah.
I'm excited.
I love that. I can't wait. I get to, in theory, if I make all my deadlines, I get to go back after these next two projects and go write the Filthy Rich Vampire book. I'm just so ready. I'm just so ready to be back in vampire world. I rarely close a world. Like I'll say, an arc. I can always give you an idea of, this arc is going to take 3 books or 4 books or whatever, but I always leave worlds open. I'm always willing to go back.
Good.
And keep writing. So
I like that.
I love that because I love a series that's not quite finished that you can go back and see what's happening. Like, let's get a peek in on what is happening in their lives, a little bit down the road. That's
exactly. Yeah. Like I had a contemporary series that I wrote for over a decade. And there was a big pause of like 2 years in between there. And then one day the characters kind of like started talking in my head again. And they were already married. They had a kid and everything. And I just went back and did it anyway. And
Love it.
It still worked. Like,
awesome.
You put a ring on it. That doesn't mean everything is going to always, there's still shit you got to deal with.
Yes.
Marriage is not the end.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Or a baby. A baby's not the end. I mean, yeah, it's true.
In this poor couple's case, there was always someone trying to assassinate or kidnap them. So,
as is the
apparently
case.
That didn't end. Yeah, exactly. What we all deal with after so many years of marriage.
Yes, definitely.
That is exciting. And you started out with contemporary romance.
I did. I actually started in young adult. That's the open secret is that I was a young adult author. And about the time that I was publishing young adult, self-publishing started to really like take off and happen. And I was like, oh, this might be fun because my editor at the time, I remember she was like, we can lose this kissing scene. We can lose this kissing scene. It was a YA dystopian. And she's like, I don't think that, she's like, have you thought about writing romance? And I was just like, I guess I will. So I just dabbled with like starting a pen name and writing romance. And then I found out that was like really where I wanted to be. So yeah, I wrote contemporary for many years, but I've kind of been all over the place.
Cool. I kind of want to go read a dystopian YA now. Is it published under Geneva Lee as well? No,
it is not. It is not published under Geneva Lee. I'll tell you about it off camera. No, no, it's not. It's really, like I said, it's an open secret. Like occasionally someone will, another author, I won't out her, and I were messaging each other about something else. She's like, I have the weirdest question for you. You're gonna think this is weird. Did you write YA at some point? I was like, I did. And she's like, oh my God. And then she revealed herself to have also been writing YA. And we were like, oh, we've actually known each other for like over a decade, but we didn't realize.
See, I think that's fun. I think that's fun to have like the different genres like that. Cause I know, it's kind of, I know Riley Sager. That's a pen name or a pseudonym, and he has written like different stuff. And I know like some authors will do like their initials versus their full name depending on it, So I think that's kind of fun. I love it, and it's kind of.
I just knew I was going to write something like super high heat because my contemporary is like frankly much higher heat than my romantasy at this juncture, and that I had this very. There's a traditional publisher in New York. They leaned a little more towards the literary bent. And I was like, I will kill them. Like a self-published erotic romance novel under this name. They'll be like, what is happening right now? So yeah, we chose the pen name, and then
that's fun.
I kind of just wound up down this path. Yeah, I was just like, actually, this is exactly where I want to be. So
Very
worked out.
cool.
What led down to the urban fantasy? Because this is considered urban fantasy, correct? Or is it romantasy?
I think
Urban
we call it
romantasy.
we call it urban romantasy.
Okay.
We're
Yes.
coining that term.
Yes, do it.
And I think what's and then of course romantasy, so like it encompasses so many things, right?
Yes.
Like I still really kind of do think of them as romantasy in the sense of like, technically Harry Potter takes place in our world, but we don't like
Right.
call it, you know what I mean? Um, no, I think that so obviously I love I love really big stories. So even if you were to go look at my contemporary, these are not just like small town, it's like this is the royal family of England, their story. Like I just love big stories, very high concept things. And so I had been saying to my agent after I wrapped the initial run of the Royals, which was initially 7 books, it's now 14.
Wow.
I said to her, I was like, I really want to write sexy vampires, like sexy vampires. And she's like, what we all kind of wanted 50 Shades of Grey to be, like sexy, with a vampire
Yes.
instead, like
Yes.
and no shade, but like right, like it was like imagine if he had fangs. And so I started like dabbling with that and taking all of these notes, and the time was just like it was like not quite right, other projects not quite right. So I spent like 5 years making notes on this world that these books take place in, before one day the character, like I knew there was a vampire named Julian, that's where we were going to start, but I just really didn't know much about the characters, and one day they just kind of showed up in my head and started talking. But I love those big stories, and I have a particular soft spot for vampires in particular. So I knew I wanted to write vampires, and as I was writing it and I was like, but what if there are also these creatures in this world? And what, like I knew there were other, but they started like kind of showing up, and like we were hearing about them. And I remember joking with my business coach saying, what if this like becomes a thing and I do like filthy rich werewolves and filthy rich witch, and we were laughing.
And now I'm like, I want filthy rich witches.
Yes. We want all of those.
And then my agent calls me one day and she's like, so I was on the phone with Liz, who is the publisher of Entangled Publishing, and she called me and said, filthy rich fae. And I was like, who's writing that? She's like, she wants you to write it. She wants you to take over Filthy Rich Vampires and do Filthy Rich Fae. And I was like, oh, so we're actually going to do this. We're actually going to build out a world where we keep having okay, let's do it. Like there's enough story here. There's enough world. So, once I build a world, I just love to stay in there and play in that world with those characters. So this is just a huge, huge world, but
and there's so many directions.
I just always loved it. I read
so
fantasy as a kid. I read
directions.
sci-fi as a kid. Like I just really love those like really high concept, big world, epic stakes kind of things. But I grew up like I think a lot of us did, reading things that we were like sort of hard pressed to ship characters. It was like, there's almost sexual tension here. We're going to pretend like this is a thing, and maybe they're going to kiss one time in a book series or, a TV show or whatever. And that's all we're going to get. And when romantasy sort of like first started coming along, and it was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for my whole life, these epic stakes, but with a real focus on also the person's personal life and intimate relationship. I love that. That's my cat.
Well, when I love like you were saying, Leyna, there's so many directions you can take this world because there is such a broad cast of characters. And what I think that really stood out to me is they are all unique enough to keep straight, which I struggle with keeping characters straight and who's who. And I feel like I did not struggle reading it, even though there are a lot of people. Because they felt like they had their own individuality. And I love seeing the intermixing. I love seeing how different people that you wouldn't are different, like Faye and then her brother, like just trying to putting the different people together and seeing their interactions, and just also seeing like the sibling dynamics between the different species, and like, how, anyway, I just thought it was great. I really enjoyed all the characters, and I love like there's so many, like we can have more stories about like all of them.
Right, exactly. Like I mean, that's kind of the goal though, right? Like, I have a personality strength. If you've ever done your personality strengths, and one of mine is individualization, which means that if I sit down with you and we spend time together, like I'm going to pick up on all the ways in which you're just a unique human being. And that is how I will see you. I look at every person as this incredibly unique human being. And so I think that's where the characterization
I
comes
think
in,
that
really.
is. Oh, I
Like,
think
Is
it
that these
definitely
are
what it
very,
I'd
gives.
love to
and
see
they
the world that
show
way.
up. And sometimes characters just walk in. Like, I can't wait for you guys actually to read Vampires, because there's a character that just like, I didn't know she was going to be there until they opened a door. And it was just like, who are you? And she's just there. She just this character, Jacqueline, you'll love her. That you're just like, okay. And they just come. They come and they are their own person, and they're fully fledged, and they reveal themselves as they're writing. I make it I made it sound a minute ago like, oh, I create all these, but they're really sort of that like kind of woo-woo magic. Like, these are characters that show up. If the characters aren't showing up, I'll put the book to the side and go work on a different project. They have to be there telling the story, so they're leading the way.
So do you have a favorite character from Filthy Rich, Faye?
Oh, that's really hard. No, because I love them. I love them all. Like, there's always like your default answer, I think, as an author is always supposed to be like the either the main character or the romantic lead, right? And certainly Locke is like one of my favorite characters, and I love Kate. Um, so I always feel like you have to like not answer your main characters because you're so in their heads. You know, it's almost like choosing yourself. Like, I'm my favorite character. You know, like, you're in these characters' heads. You're writing from their viewpoint. I don't know. That's really hard. I really have a real soft spot for Rourke. My favorite line in book one. He has my favorite line in all of that, and just the way he uh, handles himself, the way he walks into scenes, like his sense of humor. It's a little dry. Like, you're always like, you feel like you know who he is, but you're also like, I'd like to really be in your head for a day. You know, I keep being like, I'm working on book three right now, and I'm just like, do we want some Rourke chapter? I'm like, no, if I do a Rourke chapter, everyone's going to be like, that means book four is going to be Rourke's book. And it's like, when I'm going to get to a book
Rourke
four,
chapters.
right? I feel like I'm like, oh, then I'll be doing the exact thing that I've been doing for 2 years with Filthy Rich Vampires, which is answering the question of, is there going to be a book five? Like, people will be going, is there going to be a book four? Like, I don't know when. But yeah.
I have to say, Sierra is probably my favorite.
So I do love Sierra too.
I think it's one of those things where you can see certain characters, and I can project like where I imagine they're going to go, whether it's, you know, Kate, Locke, Rourke, even Channing. I'm like, I see something for him.
I know, me too. Well, I hope that I'm the one that sees it. But they do have the capacity, you know, because they're so individual. They have the capacities to surprise me. I do very light plotting, and like, I always have a sense of, this is what this book is about. This is where we're going to start. This is where we're going to end up. A lot of the middle, I'm letting the characters kind of lead the way. And so sometimes the things they do surprise me, and it takes it in. Like, we just go a different direction. It's just like, oh, it's like when you've got your GPS on, right? And it's like, you decide, oh, I see an accident up his head, so I'll turn right here, and it just reroutes you. Like, you still get there, but
right. You still get to the same place, but just a different way.
Yeah, basically, it's just accidents happening everywhere.
And I feel like I heard somewhere that Filthy Rich Faye was kind of like the planned out was 3 books.
Yes, kind of it is planned for 3. Arc. So that arc will be 3.
Okay.
I had, and I had really thought with Vampires that we were going to have a 3-book arc for that original series. I tend to think in trilogies. I think it's a symptom of my age. Like, I grew up in the like golden age of trilogies, right? It was like,
yes.
You know, don't tell me how many Star Wars movies are. There are 3 in my brain, and 3 Indiana Jones, and 3. Three.
Yep.
And so I don't remember. I was probably in the second book thinking was we'd sold it to foreign publishers going, oh man, this is not 3 books. This is definitely 4 books. That was a surprise, but
Hey,
but
it
I know
worked.
for sure that we're going to wrap this arc up for Faye in 3. And then, like I said, I don't close the world, and this world is constantly expanding. And so there's a lot of also crossover potential. So I expect that we'll see, I've resisted that so far. There's only like 1 or 2 characters that have crossed over in Faye. And you have to kind of really be paying attention and
to catch it.
yeah, to catch it. One is very obvious, is because it's Spain, it's the other Fae Prince, but then the other one is like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't. Yeah, like if you weren't like really paying attention to vampires. So, but I think that there's the potential with these spin-offs to be like, oh, you know what? Like, I really loved this character. I'm gonna pluck them out and drop them into this world and see what's happening. Which really excites me personally. I love crossovers.
I do too. I do too.
Love multiverses. So yeah, I was like pretty thrilled that we got to just keep building out this multiverse.
I love it.
So
yeah,
awesome.
And I agree. I want some filthy rich fae, some witches, filthy rich werewolves, wherever.
I know.
Leads.
I keep polling people on like social media, like which one do you think next? So, and then I'm like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do.
Yes.
I think that you have to.
Do whichever,
whatever characters are talking to you.
Yeah, you really do. Because sometimes, like for instance, with these books, like I said, I was approached to spin it specifically in this direction. I was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that direction. And I sat and came up with a pitch. I was like, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be great. And then these 2, Kate and Locke, they're so secret. They're so like protective of themselves. That's who their personality, like that's what their personality is. And so I sit down to start writing this book. We're in the middle of a cross-country move. And I'm just like, does anyone want to show up to work? Hello? And they're like, yeah, we don't know who you are. We don't trust you yet. Like, I actually wrote an entire draft of this book that got thrown out to get them to the point where I felt like, oh, these characters finally decided to show up. And now we can write a book together. But
interesting.
Yeah, so very much it will be it was scary because I'm over here going, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like and I'm so pleased with the end result. But I think the thing that I really took away from that was like, okay, we will dabble with the, I think I know the next direction we're going. I think I know what the next Filthy Rich series will be. But if I get there and I'm like, oh, no one's showing up, I'll let everybody audition. I'll just be like, line up, creatures of the world. Yes. Which one of you is ready to tell a story?
America's Got Talent.
Yeah,
but
basically, exactly. Because there's a big story going on for this world that is like getting revealed through all of these series, and that's easy. I'm completely in control of. But the individual characters coming to tell their story, like sometimes they don't want to be forced. That's the problem with when you got an alpha male.
That's true.
And both of these characters are very strong characters and very big protectors of their family. And I feel like they've kind of been siloed a little bit in their family, where they have to be the strong, silent ones, kind of taking on everything on their shoulders so that nobody else has to really deal with it.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that it's hard to get them to talk to you.
Yeah, it was. It was very much I remember just thinking, I kept trying to figure out what Kate did for a living. It's like, who are you? And so I would just be like, I'll just give her this profession. And in my experience, and this always makes me sound crazy because I have friends that are just like, no, I've decided I'm going to write about this, and this is what they do, and this is what they do. And I'm like, okay. Like for me, it's like they will tell me I am a nurse, for instance. But it was like 5 months in of being like, maybe you're this. Maybe no, okay. Maybe you're what are you? Who are you in this world? So yeah, they were very protective of themselves it was a very unique writing experience.
And I know LJ is not a huge fan of cliffhangers.
No,
but should apologize in advance. Don't hate all my books.
But despite that, I think that there are ways to do cliffhangers where it makes sense And it's like it's a clean cut, like where not, I mean, we're like, you're like, oh no, I need more. I want to know what happens. But at the same time, you see it has to happen that way. And I think both of the books did just that. Like it made perfect sense.
The
And
story has come to an end and we're about to have a new one.
And we're going to have to do this next thing and it's going to take time. And otherwise the book would be 1,000,000 pages.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I love cliffhangers. I don't have it here. It's at my office, at my house. I have a actual like placard, like you'd see on like a dean's desk that one of my readers sent me a couple years ago that says Geneva Lee, Queen of Cliffhangers. Because I just adore that. What I do more often than not, I was actually pretty kind in the Fey ones. And there are people who will hear that and be like, really? I will just see the moment where I'm like, oh, this is where everything's going to go in a new direction. And this is everything has just, and it can be like just the most like vicious moments, but it's like so obvious to me, this is where we cut off. But I grew up with cliffhangers, I feel like it's just like nostalgia podcast today, but back in the day when you didn't know if a TV series was going to get picked up or they relied on cliffhangers to try to make sure there was enough viewership and audience and people who were willing to write letters. And I mean, I can remember writing letters for certain TV shows when I was a kid being like, don't cancel this, I need to know if the person who was shot is going to die. Like
I know.
And so there's just part of me that just will always love them. Like, and it's funny though, because my husband, I don't even remember what I was reading or watching. Oh, I was watching something. I was watching The Ladies' Companion on Netflix, which is a Spanish show. It's so good. I need to tell everybody to go. It's like a period drama. It's got kind of Bridgerton. It's so much fun. Don't do the dub, do the subtitles. That's my advice. But it ends on this cliffhanger.
I'm a Spanish teacher, so I'm like, I need to write this one.
Oh, you would love it then, because you'll just be able to like watch it.
Yeah. Okay. So what's it called again?
So good. It's called The Ladies' Companion. It's
The Ladies' Companion. Okay.
Awesome. Like I mean, I was like texting my sister, like everyone that was in my phone. I was like, "Go watch this show. I need to talk." And they still haven't announced if there's going to be a season 2, but there's a cliffhanger at the end. And I'm just like, I told my husband, he's like, "Oh, we're complaining about this." Like, now you know how everybody feels. I'm like, I know, sorry. Except that I'm going to write the next book. I'm never going to abandon it. Even if a series was like, I've had series that I haven't done as well. I'm going to finish it till the end of that story. So you never have to worry about that. But
after book 1, I texted LJ and I'm like, I am so glad that we have book 2 that you can just roll right into it.
I know. And I think my publisher sometimes is like, but you see, people are scared to pick up your books. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I can say that Filthy Rich Fae, the first book, is it just self-titled, the first book? Just Filthy Rich Fae?
Yeah, it's just Filthy Rich Fae. I think that'll be the way it is with every single one. It'll be Filthy Rich Vampire, Filthy Rich Fae, and then it switches over.
And then the Filthy Rich Fae Fallen Court, I felt like that one left on like a little bit, it had a cliffhanger still, but less of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she was nice.
Thank you. See, I can be kind. I'm a benevolent tyrant. Yeah, no, because it does really feel like that wraps up, and but then there's still, I mean, we won't spoil
there's gonna
anything.
be,
there's a lot. There's still a lot that has to be dealt with. We've solved one problem. Good. There's only 99 more.
Right? I felt like the first book was setting up kind of the world, and then you got a little bit into the characters, and then the second book you really felt like that big connection with a lot of the characters, and you find out some history and like some secrets are revealed, and then even more secrets are opened up, like, oh, there's another can of worms. So it was so fun to read it and just have things revealed, and it was one of those books that I just wanted to like keep going.
That's totally my goal.
I'm so glad there's another series.
I prefer my books to be like single setting reads. Like
Yep.
I've sat down and I'm just gonna like I hear that a lot, and that's like the thing that I like take away. Someone will be like, I sat down to read just a few pages of this, and then I called in sick to work, or
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, don't lose your job. But but also that is how I prefer. I just don't write quiet, I remember another author saying to me one time, and this was very early in my career. They were like, well, but you have to give like people a pause to catch their breath so they can or so they can go to sleep, like so they can put their book down. And I was like, we're writing very different books. Like that is just not like, I'm like, oh no, 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 no. I want to be a full escape. I want you to be like, you're sucked into that world. Nothing matters but what's about to happen next. Because that's just my favorite reading experience. Those are the kind of books I prefer. I can have nonfiction that I can sit down and come back to tomorrow and read to fall asleep. I'm not writing you books to fall asleep to.
They're fast paced, and there's always something happening, and you're like, okay, what happened to that character? Because it does switch between Locke and Kate's points of view, and you get these like back and forth of what's going on in one life and then the other, and then they'll come together. I really enjoyed all of that. And the very first line, there's someone that I talked to at a bookstore locally. He always says to look at the very first line of a book. And he's like, that's the best. And on this book, for Filthy Rich, Faithful in Court, the first line was, death waited on our every street corner.
Every street corner.
And I was like, ooh, that's just like setting the scene. Like death is out there stalking everyone. So I was like,
and that's kind of how that book feels, right?
It does.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It really does.
I know. And you're not afraid to, kill off someone important.
Yeah.
But I will say there was, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there was a character that I loved. And I was like, oh no, it's going to go bad because from one of the character's point of views. And I was like, no. And then I was like, oh, phew. Oh, thank goodness.
And I think that's like, I think that is a sort of a mirror of what these two main characters, like, that's what their life is and will continue to be while they're living this arc is, oh, this new person has come into my life. Do I trust them? Like the trust issues, right? Like, so just like the writing experience, we're like, do we trust you? Like they have to be like very...
And now they're going to be
wary of everybody that comes into everybody who walks through their door. So I feel like that means we're really in the headspace of these characters. If we're just like, do I trust you? You look suspicious.
And I think you had several characters the whole book that I was like, what are your intentions? Are you good? Are you bad? Is it a shade of gray? Like, how important are you to the story? I was trying to suss some of that out, and then also be like, okay, I know this is going to be a series. Where might they come along later on? Like, there's some romances brewing that I'm like, okay, I need to know that story.
Oh God, I know. And I didn't even, one of the romances, it was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize you two were together. And then my editor's like, I think we can beef this up. I was like, this is the first time finding out about it. Okay. So this is where we're going to find out that this is happening.
That's what happens. Yep. I mean, sometimes you're sitting there and you don't realize that that's what they're planning to do. And then it's like, oh, here they are.
I love it.
Yeah. Making it happen.
Okay, so you mentioned that growing up you would read, fantasy, sci-fi. Do you still read fantasy, sci-fi, romance? Like, what do you enjoy reading these days?
I certainly do. I don't get to read nearly as much as I'd like to anymore because I feel like I hit one deadline and then it's like, and then someone just taps me on the shoulders like, by the way, don't forget you're contracted for this, or we'll have these notes to you in 5 seconds. But how can you possibly do it that fast? It took me so long to write it. So I don't get to read as much as I would like. That's my caveat. But I have certain series that I loved. I was amongst the world going, is that ACOTAR 6 through 8 or six with an arrow? And I was like, my friend sent it to me and I just went on and looked and I was like, well, that says 6 through 8 and it says first draft's done. And she's like, no. And I was like,
That's
I
what it
promise
looks
you
like.
that says 6 through 8. That says 6. Anyway, like, so, I follow all that stuff. I've gotten to read some really great ones this year. The Neverlist. I enjoyed Silver Lee. I know that one's a little bit controversial. I don't shy away from controversy, so that's not an issue for me. Um, and then sometimes I'll just go over and still read my contemporaries as kind of a palate cleanser, or I'll read a thriller. Like
Oh
sometimes I
yeah.
really need to go read something that's just entirely
Not,
different
yeah.
because there is a real sense, and this is the unfortunate thing, whatever genre you're working in, it can feel like if you go to pick up a book in that genre, like your brain, because you're writing in it or editing, you're seeing all of it like it's puzzle pieces that you're putting together. It's very difficult it's always impossible for me to turn off my what do I think the twist is brain. Like that happens no matter what. But I will be looking at it and be like, oh, we're hitting that beat perfectly. Oh, it's like, oh my God, this isn't your book. Just read it. So, so I have been reading a lot more like outside the fantasy genre when I do get to read, just because I don't work while I'm doing it quite as much as yeah. But what are some other ones? I read a bunch of Megan Miranda books. I really like those. Those are thrillers.
Yeah, I
Read
think
her.
I have a couple of hers, but I don't know if I've ever read one. So that's good to hear.
She is the only thriller author ever that got a twist past me, and I will give her that.
Wow.
And
That's
I was
good.
like, I was literally like, give this woman a Pulitzer. Like I, like I was telling everyone, I was like, oh my God, I didn't figure it out. I didn't see that one, because usually I can, like, it becomes kind of a game. Like I'll text my sister or my husband on, like, I'll be like on page 17, I'll be like, I know who did it. And they're like, yeah, of course you do. So yeah, but I really, really enjoyed those. And I read last year, I read L. Kennedy's Off-Campus series. I loved that.
I love that
Love, 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 love,
series.
love. I went to read one of them.
Mhm.
Um, and I went to read it as like anytime there is like a particular genre that is, I was a trained academic, so I was in grad school for a long time. So anytime there's a genre that's like just really blowing up, I'll just go over and read one of them. Be like, what is it that people are like? What is it about this that everyone is? So I can understand. And so I went to read one, and then I was like, oh, but now I'm very invested in this hockey team, so I'm going to read every single one. I was like, are you reading a hockey romance series? I'm like, shut up.
Yep.
I will die for these characters.
You'll never look at hockey games the same way.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Love them.
He convinced me to go to a hockey game based off that. Hated the hockey game. I was like, this is too loud for me. Well, our local hockey team, they ring cowbells.
Oh.
Is this something they do at other hockey games? I don't feel like they do.
So we have
But
the
I
Dallas
was
Stars,
just
and I
like,
don't remember.
I don't think we do.
my like autistic self was like, I cannot handle this sensory, over like mine, or I just couldn't handle. Like it was too overstimulating for me. I was like, we have to go.
See, I think I
So
would be sitting there being like, okay, where are the girlfriends? Okay, what's their story? Is it as good as the stories in the book? Like that's what I would be
right,
doing.
right, yeah. I
So,
might have been able to do that without cowbells. I would have found a way.
So where what are they, the loop earbud things? I have a lot of friends that do those in loud places like that.
My
Help.
middle is also autistic. Like, so I was also like hypervigilant. Yeah, she tried those, but it was too loud. So that's what I learned from that. And then I've heard from other people that normally hockey games do not have cowbells.
yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe I just need to try a different hockey team.
What's something that you want readers to know?
Ooh, I like that question.
That I love them very much.
Aw.
Excellent answer.
No, I guess it's just like, just trust me. I know sometimes like these, the Fae books have taken a little bit like longer to write, and that's been a frustration for me. And I think that there are readers that are like, but the vampire books came out much more quickly, and they're those were indie published initially, so that makes sense. But if I'm taking time with the book, it's because the book needs more time. I guess that's my biggest thing. Is like, just trust me. Like, it'll be fine. We're gonna get there. We're always gonna get there. I'm gonna do it as fast as I can, but I'm not gonna cut any corners. I just refuse. So if it needs more time, I'll just say, guys, I need more time on this. So I think that's why I don't think we've announced like, I know what the date is supposed to be for book 3. But I don't think it's announced. I don't think we put it up for pre-order. I think that everyone's just waiting for me to be like, we're good. We're at a stage where I feel like we're going to hit up all of the time that we have to. And I'm just not sure yet because there's a lot of there's a lot happening right now. I've got to make sure we get it all in there. So
yeah.
Is the first draft of that book finished, or is it
No,
still
God,
kind of
no.
in the works?
I wish. I'm always like, oh, do you remember back when you were writing contemporary, you could write the first draft of a book in 2 weeks? Glory days. Like, I talk about it like it's like my old like high school baseball team. Because this cast is very, very large in Filthy Rich Fae. And so I'm tracking, at one point we were counting the storylines I was tracking, the plot lines. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder these are taking so long because
and you have to keep it all straight.
Yeah. You got to keep it all straight.
So hard.
And that's my job. My job is to make it easy for you guys to read so that you're just sucked in and you're not going, wait, what? Who's that person? And so I have to work. I work on that very, very, very hard. I work on making the world building come at a pace that is easy to process so that you're in the world and you're not feeling like I have no idea, like I'm completely overwhelmed by this world. But that level of writing, like I'm always like, if you read a book and it's easy to read, then it was hard to write because you really have to get in there and be like, kill your darlings, move stuff around, realign things. It's just a lot. So yeah, I wish it was done. My goal is to have it done by the end of August. That's my goal. So because I'll have to write another book by the end of the year. So we'll see. But
so we're looking at maybe next year getting book 3?
Yeah, it'll be out next year. It'll definitely be out next year. I would actually expect it to be out next spring. Like we kind of the way we work, we work very quickly with my publisher. So and I edit lightning fast. I can edit things like just when they're like, let's develop this, let's move stuff around. Like I do tend to write a first draft that is incredibly complete. There's very little
I feel like that's a special
that
talent.
has to be done.
Yeah.
Well, it's just it's something that's, I've been doing this 14 years. So I've just, Stephen King taught, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. But also like, you just kind of can look at it and know, like, you're missing this, or are you tracking, like, I know how to track through all my lines to make sure that it's all getting where it needs to be. But so I do take more time with that first draft. But I love the editing process. That's where I get to go in and add the fun stuff and make the writing more beautiful or make it funnier or add in, like my favorite line in Filthy Rich Fae is after, she's had this bargain with Locke. She's in the other world. He forces her to come to breakfast and they're all sitting there talking and Rourke is there and Locke is there. And I was told by my publisher, like, we just need you to like 1 or 2 more lines about what Fae are and what Fae aren't in this world. I was like, okay. So I go into that scene, like, this is a good scene to like add some more dialogue so we can get that in there. And she says, so you claim you aren't garden gnomes? Rourke is like eating and chokes and he's like, fucking gnomes? And I could just see this giant muscular tattooed pierced guy just cracking up like, what have you gotten yourself into in this one? What is happening right now? And like, that's awesome. My favorite line in the entire book. Fucking
love
gnomes.
It.
But I got to add that in during edits, right? That's
kind of brought up in book 2 as well, right? The gnome.
It might be, yeah, because I love
so.
the gnome. I love the gnome joke, the garden gnome joke. I'll probably put it in as many times as I can because she's just trying to push all of his buttons.
Yeah.
And it just totally works. So
it did. It was funny. I know. There were a lot of funny moments. Like their banter, all of the kids, there was such good chemistry between all of them, which then again also made it like, okay, who's good, who's really good, who's really bad, who, you know, like, because
it keeps you guessing.
You kept us guessing. But even disregarding that, but like just the chemistry between all of them, it just was perfectly done. Just how witty they all were, how quick.
Yeah, I love it. I think I grew up watching like old Hollywood movies too, where it was like, you know, like Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant just lightning fast, you know, and so I love dialogue like that personally.
It's fun.
It's really fun. And
It is.
I liked the romance. And I don't even know if I can say, because I feel like in Filthy, like, what does the back cover say? So I think they are together. They know in book 2 they are together. But Kate says, I don't want you at my feet. I want you at my side. I want to be your equal, your partner. And I put down, yes, this is what love is. That it's not a power imbalance, that they want to be equal, that they, like, he's apologizing for something and kind of groveling, and she's like, no, that's not what we're doing here. We're an equal partnership. And I was like, that is a good example of love and 2 strong characters that are willing to meet each other where they're at.
And yeah, I love that. So I've been with my husband for 28 years.
Oh, wow.
He was my first date.
Oh my gosh.
15, we went on our first date, we went to Titanic.
Yes.
And it was opening weekend of Titanic, so that ages me. But
no, I remember I was there on opening day.
Right? So someone recently I think it was in one of my social media posts, had commented, Geneva Lee puts her couples through the ringer. And I was like, I do. And I took it as a compliment, because I'm like, I will test you. And you are going to show up again and again and again for each other. Because I think that that's what love is. But that idea that like we fight for each other, we're equals, like that you can have 2 equally strong people that can really build something that's based on respect and communication and trust and true intimacy. Like that's what I like. We're not there at the beginning of any of my books, because any of my books, like, we have to get through that. They have to learn how to not miscommunicate. Like we have to learn how to trust each other and to open up and to, you know, feel safe with that person. But then once they're there, it's ride or die, you know? And I love that. Like, and I will, you know, and then we just get to have fun with other people trying to like break them apart. And it's like, oh, well, you could try, but we're rock solid, you know? And that's how I feel with my husband. Like we're rock solid. We're not going anywhere. Awesome. So yeah, I love writing that. I believe that exists in the world. I know that exists in the world. And I know that not everyone is as blessed as I am to have that. And I hope that I can let everyone have it in a book.
There is a happy ever after,
you know? Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Very cool. I love that.
I know I want to know what's coming next, but I think you've already answered that you don't know.
Yeah, like, Fae 3 is coming next.
If I can put in a good word for witches.
Everyone has like it's funny, because I think somebody told me like a million years ago now, like, and by a million I mean like 2. That's how fast publishing feels like it moves. That witches don't sell. Nobody wants a witch book. And I'm like, really? Because I get a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, do witches. There's a bit so in Vampires, since you guys haven't read that, like all of the talk of like the curse on Earth's magic, like, because there's references to these things.
Yes.
But we don't I'm just like, we're not going in, like, we're just gonna, enough that you can follow for this series that something happened here and the power dynamic is shifting. But in Vampires, that's what that story is. The story is about the curse on Earth's magic being broken. And so you see there are a lot more witch characters in that than there are in Fae, I would say. But it's still not a full-blown witch story, because it is more focused on the vampires. So I don't know. I don't have an idea yet for exactly what the witch story, but Filthy Rich Witch is really cute. So
yes.
It'll happen at some point, you know. I don't know what it is yet.
I think there were some really strong like witch characters in this book, like the 2 that help I don't want to say the two that are involved in Oberon.
Right, involved in certain things that happen in Act 1.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
But they were very strong characters, and then this network of witches that they kind of lead her to is also just, I was like, man, there's so much there that you can draw on. And I don't know if you were setting that up for that, but I was like, oh, I can just see all of these characters.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever the eponymous like character is, so vampire or fae, I go in and do a lot of research. It was very easy with me for vampires because I'd spent a long time thinking about that world, but also I'd taken a class called vampire literature in college where it was literally focused on where did the vampire myth start, where do we see it over and over and over again in literature
such a fun
and in
class.
history. It was so much fun. And there are all sorts of little nods in those books to what I learned in that class a million years ago. And then with fae, I read a very like this long book called the Gaelic Otherworld, so that I would, of course we're all familiar with fae now in literature, but I wanted to go and look back from like folklore historically. So I have a complete set of books from Oxford called The History of Magic that literally starts like BC times and moves into.
That's
So
so
I'll
cool.
have to read that before I do witches, because it's just I want to feel like I'm in conversation with our own like history while adding something new and different, while like making it my own, but having nods to like this is our world that these books are taking place in. So it would make sense that we would, little things like, oh, that's why people believe vampires couldn't come out in daylight, or just little things like that, those little tiny nods. That's my geeky side though. I like that kind of work. I was an academic, and so that's what makes it really fun for me. So I know when you say witches, I'm like, oh boy. I've started to do a lot of like, I've done some werewolf, I've done, gods, I've done, I've like really started to look at all of these different creatures and supernatural creatures that could show up. And I'm like, but when I go into witches, that's a lot. There's a lot.
I feel like there's a lot of history and then a lot that's current that you would be up against too. So I can see that being a very difficult subject matter, because it feels like it's something that is still practiced. Like,
oh yeah, it is still practiced, and I I used a Theban, the language that the Fae uses, a real occult language that actually exists. And I did that so that someone could write things out if they wanted to, or that we would be able to know what, like I know what the tattoos on their body, like what they all are,
actually say.
Right. Yeah. And it was an occult language that was created by some white dude in the 17th century or 16th century, that no one can trace back any further than that. And so when I discovered that, I was like, oh, but wouldn't it be so much cooler if actually that white dude had just stumbled upon an ancient language of the Fae? And so, like, just those little nods to real things that exist.
That's awesome.
I love that. That's fun.
And you said you were an academic researcher. Like, what's that background?
I did 18th century literature and women's and gender studies. I studied female accomplice rape.
Wow.
As it was presented in early novels, and then also like historically how it presented in the historical records of the Old Bailey in Britain. I'm a nerd.
I love it.
I love it.
I know. Sometimes I think people read my books and are like, and yet you just write books with magical orgies. I'm like, because I can. Okay, guys, I did my time. I did my time with the very serious literature.
A lot of very intelligent friends that also love a mix of the smut.
I would
bring it all together.
Yeah, like I think I'm writing for a really intelligent, modern person. I won't even say woman. I have plenty of male readers, and who want a good, like, fast-paced story where lots is happening, but that can really appreciate, early on, one of the very first readers who got to read it early, it was just someone that was helping me do a story Bible. And she was just like, oh my God, the amount of like real, like little folklore details that are in here are insane. She's like, this is so much fun. And I'm like, it was just so cool that someone like saw that and recognized it because, yeah, you can read these books and you don't have to know any of that stuff, but it just makes it a little more, I don't know, just gives it something to me. It's that.
depth.
And then if it's a real world place, if it's a real world place, I will try to travel there or and add little things that I saw in whatever city, so that if you're ever in Venice, if you're ever in Paris, like you can walk right up to this gate that they're talking about in the book or whatever. Like those are the little things that I live for.
It's set in New Orleans. What made you choose New Orleans as this central spot for?
I resisted putting it in New Orleans for like the longest time. Like I was like, oh, there, because we've had a lot of sort of supernatural shows and things that have like taken place in New Orleans, and I kept trying to put it somewhere else, and this was a clear case where I was being told, no, you got it. And I remember kind of going to my publisher and my agent and being like, I just New Orleans, and and they're like, no, that's great. Yes. Absolutely. People like it. She's like, no, just go with it. Like, and I was like, okay, let's do this.
Well, thank you for being on. I really enjoyed talking with you and getting to know more about your world and your writing. And I would say everybody should go read this, Filthy Rich Fae and Filthy Rich Vampires, which is something that I have on my TBR now.
Yes.
Definitely going to go read it. You can read.
I hope you like it.
You can read all about this world.
Which, and I will tell you, at the time of publishing, the Filthy Rich Vampires are on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's like
they should
girl
all
math.
be.
It's
all
free.
the books should be. Yeah, all the books should be in Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
I think Faye is too.
So is it is, and
so yeah. Oh, and there's really good audiobooks for these books. Vampires has Stella Hunter and Teddy Hamilton.
Okay.
I mean, Teddy Hamilton is and he's doing a vampire, and that was amazing. And then we have Raquel Beatty and Aiden Snow doing the Fae, and
I love audiobooks, so I might have to go that
they're really
route
good
for
audiobooks.
Vampires.
I think they might be on sale too. So I feel like they're always on sale. I feel like I get a email every week being like, we're celebrating this, or we're I'm like, okay. So,
I've learned on Audible to put all the books that I want to read on my TBR list, because they'll pop it up and be like, oh, hey, this is on sale from your list. So if you're ever thinking about reading a book or listening to it, that's the way to get notified of the sales.
I love it.
They have sales often. So,
well, yeah. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. So exciting to have you on. So can't wait for the next one. Like, I know, for real.
Too. I can't wait for it to be done.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for being on here, Geneva. We had so much fun. And to our listeners, we'll see you next week. So bye.
Bye.
So thank you for listening to More Than a Book Club podcast. We are recorded and produced in McKinney, Texas.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.